Tennessee men's basketball picked up its second loss of the season Saturday at Vanderbilt, and I think it exposed a big weakness that could plague Tennessee down the line this season. Hey, Lucas Panzica here from 104.5 The Zone and A to Z Sports. 76-75, the final from Memorial Gym. Tennessee, after trailing by as much as 16 points, mounted a late comeback but fell just short. And it's easy to look at the late dramatics in this game as to the biggest reason why Tennessee lost. Chaz Lanier getting blocked at the rim on a potential game-tying layup. Lanier also missing a potential game-tying free throw in the closing seconds that would have sent the game to overtime with Tennessee having the momentum. Instead, the Vols lose on the road in Nashville by a point. But I'm going to go back to the first half as to the biggest turning point in this game and the thing that exposed what I think is a major weakness for the Vols. And that's with 7 minutes to play in the first half. Tennessee led Vanderbilt 26-21, and Zakai Zeigler fouled Vanderbilt guard Jason Edwards on a three-point attempt, and that gave Zeigler his second foul of the game. Rick Barnes brought Zakai Zeigler to the bench, and Zeigler did not re-enter the game until the second half. Well, in those 7 minutes and 10 seconds that Zeigler was on the bench, Vanderbilt put together a 20-9 run and took a 6-point lead in the halftime, a lead they did not relinquish, coming away with the upset victory. The weakness here to pinpoint is a lack of depth overall, but specifically at the point guard position. Tennessee just does not have an option to control the pace of this offense when Zakai Zeigler is not on the floor. Last year, the Vols had the luxury to just give the ball to Dalton Knecht in those situations and let him take over. And while Chaz Lanier has been a great scoring option to replace some of that production left by Knecht, he's mostly a sharpshooter and has not necessarily shown the ability to take the ball and run the tempo of the offense. In those 7 minutes and 10 seconds that Zeigler was on the bench, Tennessee only scored one field goal attempt, and the Vols turned the ball over 3 times on offense. They never really looked in rhythm during that stretch and just looked out of sync and disconnected. Tennessee does not have that second option at point guard, and that could certainly hurt them down the line this season. And it's not just about depth at point guard, but overall depth. And this started to pop up as a concern early in the year when big man J.P. Estrella was ruled out for the season before it even really got started. Not to mention Cam Carr hitting the transfer portal mid-season, and someone that Tennessee thought could be an option down the stretch went right out the door. Tennessee only got 8 points off the bench against Vanderbilt on Saturday. Now, that's because Jordan Gainey didn't give the Vols a lot of scoring output off the bench, and Cade Phillips had no points after putting up double-digit scoring figures just a few days prior against the Georgia Bulldogs. So, Tennessee has found ways to win despite that lack of depth, but when Zakai Zeigler is on the bench for long periods of time, there really has not been a solution to keep the offense going. Now, Rick Barnes' argument for keeping Zeigler on the bench that long was that he thought Tennessee could mostly hold Vanderbilt defensively and stay within reach going into halftime, and he was right. Tennessee was only down 6 at the half, but just couldn't make up that gap enough, and it continued to get worse in the second half, but that Zeigler second foul was certainly the turning point. Now, this is not all bad for Tennessee. The Vols are still the number 6 team in the country after the latest AP poll came out. And like any other team in the country, yes, Tennessee has its flaws. It's good to recognize them earlier in the season and see if you can find a way around them. Either way, Tennessee's got a big week coming up with a game against number 15 Mississippi State and then a road trip to number 1 ranked Auburn on Saturday night in prime time. So, the Vols have their issues. They need to find those scoring options, someone to run the offense not named Zakai Zeigler, but all things considered, Tennessee is still in pretty good position moving forward, but they're going to have to continue to prove it in the day-to-day grind that is the SEC.